It's been under national administration, and yet the financial books for the Metro Council in charge of Bloemfontein, Mangaung, remains firmly in the red. In short, the city's liabilities exceed its assets, and yet it continues to splurge on overtime pay for its staff. And it's been especially evident on the judicial capital's streets for some time now, with headline after headline about the severe lack of basic services such as waste removal being just one of the examples. Now, investigative journalist on the story is the very, very classy Sipho Masondo. Sipho, danke for your time. Welcome back to the lead. I'm so chuffed you've back on another edition with us.
Thank you, Graeme, even if you are overselling me, but I accept it.
We all need a little extra sort of pep in our step on this Monday, Sipho. When last we in Mangaung, I was there around the sort of lockdown time, I think just towards the end of 2020. And I remember being sort of a little bit taken back about the general just lack of basic services. Streets very, very dirty. And soon it became a national talking point. Mangaung just unable to pick up its litter.
Look, I mean, there's always been issues about Mangaung. I mean, it's called the city of roses, but there are no roses in Mangaung, hey? You know, like, one thing that strikes you about the town as you enter the town is just the potholes in the city center. Wherever you go, the streets are just filled with potholes. There's just so many potholes. You just have to drive very carefully. So that's one thing I remember very well. And the potholes are almost always an indicator, if I can use that word. If there are potholes in town, it just means that the city cannot get the basics right. You know, potholes are not filling potholes can't be that difficult, you know. So if a city cannot feed potholes, I mean, it just simply says that the place is crumbling, the place is collapsing. It actually means that the municipality is not working, you know, filling potholes and having street lights and robots working. These are just really basic things that municipalities should do. So if you can't do these things, I mean, there's a question mark about your viability as a municipality.
100%. And the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament scope just earlier this year, Sipho had already raised the red flag. They were briefed by the Auditor General's office. And one of the key reoccurring themes for the Mangaung Metro is just generally sort of like a brain drain. There's a lack of skilled staff just in general seems to be one of like the main concerns. And as we speak, the city's been trying hard to avert a bit of a water crisis at the moment. If you've seen some of the headlines, there's been a breakage in one of the main sort of bulk water pipelines, and they've been working really hard to try and get that back up and running and giving water in the meantime. Anywho, let's have a look closely a little bit at the numbers that you've uncovered in the latest Metro annual report there. What does it reveal to you as going, oh my goodness, I can't believe how bad the state of affairs is in Mangaung?
Yeah, it's not good, Graeme. It's just not good at all. I mean, if you look at the annual report, the latest, which is for the 2023-2024 financial year, it shows that, I mean, you're speaking about water. It shows that the council owes a water board. I can't recall the name of that water board that services that region, but the council owes that water board 921 million. That's like almost $1 billion. So yeah, it just shows you that things are not good. Things are not good. They owe Eskom 1.1 billion, and then they incurred water losses amounting to 490 million, and electricity they incurred electricity losses amounting to 202 million. So these figures are just not good. If you owe a water board 900 million, if you owe Eskom 1.1 billion, it simply means that you are not able to pay your debts. And if I take this thing to a personal level, me and you, if you're not able to pay your debts, it means you are bankrupt. It means you are broke. So what it simply means is that the city of Mangaung is actually broke. In fact, the Auditor General goes as far as saying that he's not sure if the municipality can continue as a going concern because its liabilities exceed its assets by close to 500 million.
I mean, the actual AG's office reporting that one of the country's capitals, 3 capitals, is on the road to technically being unable to do its work is frightening. Huge debts that it needs to pay off, and yet it's been under national administration, so it's been getting money from Treasury, etc., to try and plug these holes. Overtime pay, that, according to your latest reporting, Sipho, seems to be one of the chief concerns here. Overtime payments to a prisoner, how Mangaung's 470 million rand overtime abuse was exposed. What did you reveal here about this particular staffer who, despite being in jail, was still getting overtime pay?
As they say, Graeme, life is much stranger than fiction. Eh? I mean, imagine sitting in jail and getting. I mean, if you are getting if you're getting overtime pay while sitting in jail, it also does suggest that you are actually getting your salary to start with. And I cannot sitting here. I'm just trying to figure out how the municipality will allow a situation where an employee that is sitting in jail is getting not only his salary but is also getting pay, is getting overtime pay. So what the annual report reveals is that. And what happened in this case is that an employee of the municipality literally took forms for this guy in jail for him to sign and claim overtime. So he did not do it on his own. So he got cooperation from somebody who's a colleague of his who brought in the forms for him to sign, and then he took them back and then submitted the forms. So boom, this guy is sitting there in prison and then he's getting his overtime.
Sure, must be nice. That's a lacquer manager to have there, Sipho.
If you can have that gig, Graeme, it's quite a very nice one. I mean, imagine unfortunately, the report does not say how much he claimed, but whatever it is, 1,000 rand, 2,000 rand, whatever it is, imagine just claiming money that you do not deserve and you're getting paid that amount of money on a monthly basis. I mean, it's really nice gig if one can get it.
That's money meant to be used for the provision of fixing broken bulk water pipelines and cleaning up the streets, right? That is going to a person that is literally languishing in prison. And what's the investigation revealed there, Sipho? Is this gentleman or this person still in prison? And I think I recalled that the manager or the line manager that had given the time sheets to be filled out whilst this person was in prison has been suspended. What's the state of that investigation? Do you know?
Unfortunately, we don't, Graeme. What we do know indeed is that the immediate manager of this guy who was in prison was suspended. In fact, and the guy that's above him, both of them were suspended. But we don't know the status of the investigation. Unfortunately, the municipality did not respond to any of the questions that we sent them. But what I can say is that they did institute an investigation. According to the annual report, that investigation was completed, I think, a month or two ago. I think at the end of June 2025, the investigation was completed or was supposed to be completed. But we don't know the findings of this investigation because the municipality did not respond. I did ask them specific questions about the investigation. They did not respond. What we also do know, Graeme, is that the Hogs had initiated their own investigation looking into overtime claims, specifically in the office of the mayor. When we asked questions, they told us that, look, they conducted the investigation and then took files and submitted them to the NPA. And unfortunately, the NPA, for whatever reason that we don't know, decided not to prosecute. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Sure, decided not to prosecute, yet there's clear evidence that opposition parties are saying that there's a culture within the council that, it's a free-for-all, unauthorized spending in terms of what staff claim is overtime is just anybody can get.
Look, I mean, it's. I mean, if you look at the findings of the Auditor General, Graeme, it's not looking good. I mean, in the 2023-2024 financial year, their original budget for overtime pay was 87 million. I mean, 87 million is still quite a lot of money, but one could argue that, look, for example, people who fix, let's say there's a water burst, there's a big pipe that's got issues, and then People have to wake up at night to go and fix it. There are issues with electricity, and people have to wake up at night to go and fix electricity, or people are maybe traveling out of town and they work long hours. One could argue that municipalities have to make that provision for overtime, so in this particular case, for the financial year in question, they had budgeted 87 million, but during the course of the year, they realized that that money is not going to be enough, so they adjusted the budget. They pushed it from 87 million to 109 million. But guess what? By the end of the financial year, they'd spend a staggering 245 million. That's quite a lot of money, Graeme. That's like almost 3 times what they'd budgeted. And then, what it simply says, or what it simply shows, is that there's a very serious problem. The system is being abused very, very badly.
What did the opposition parties say to you? We of course know that the ANC is in power in this specific metro, and the DA will obviously, try to hold account where it can. Whilst you didn't, have much luck in getting the municipality spokesperson on record. By the way, I've also had issues with getting this specific spokesperson on issues to account in the past. What did the DA tell you?
Look, the DA, is the main opposition party in that council. They keep raising these issues in council meetings. They keep making a lot of noise about these issues. I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, one of their councillors there actually made a presentation in council, and I think they had a debate there, and one of the councillors stood up and did say that, look, this kind of abuse of overtime is just simply not sustainable. You cannot budget 87 million and then end up spending 245 million. That is just an increase that is way, 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 way too much. But unfortunately, there's nothing that they can do other than raising these issues in council and trying to hold the ANC to account. There's not much they can do.
Sure. Okay. What is there left to do to really say about all of this? The AG is very seriously concerned about the financial future. We're not really getting answers from the metro itself. We're heading towards, local government elections next year, and, let's hope people can vote where they think it's necessary. For my money, it really seems like it's a council that often isn't really in the national headlines. People kind of forget a little bit about Mangaung. It's not, the main sort of epicenters of news value in this country. So it could be argued that there's not a lot of sort of media accountability. That could be, part of the argument. But yet, for the longest time, the writing's been on the wall that this is a council in shambles. Yet, despite being under national administration, we can see that it's not really heading towards anything positive at this stage. And now we have the finance minister, Enoch Godongwana, also warning Sipho that, if you can't ship up in terms of your lowly municipality all the way to one of the major metros in this country, if you can't get your finances in order, what, you're going to be cut off, eh?
Well, I hope they will be cut off, Graeme. If you don't, yes, there was a couple of weeks ago, there were reports in the media where the finance minister, Godongwana, said to the Johannesburg Metro that, look, if you can't get your house in order, we're not going to give you more money. I think Treasurer has to adopt a hardline stance as far as these municipalities are concerned. You can't just give people money and they take the money and do whatever they want to do with it and do not deliver services. This municipality is in a bad shape. Mangaung is in a very, very, very bad shape. If you look at the finances, it's, the basis for the Auditor General's, they got a qualified opinion, and the basis for the qualified opinion is particularly relating to their expenditure on overtime, and it doesn't look like they're going to address this thing anytime soon. I think in the next financial year they will have similar problems, and it's now, I think, the ball is in the finance minister's court to really start dishing hard love to these municipalities.
Yeah, because in my mind, and you have this excellent graph in the article that we've alluded to, which forms the basis of today's episode of The Lead. Sipho, you've done so well to show the levels of different spending. So in terms of the total budget, 2.2 billion in terms of expenditure breakdown. Yes, irregular spending is what we normally hear about, 278 million. Fruitless and wasteful spending around 129, and then unauthorized spending is actually around to the tune of 1.8 billion. That's hugely concerning, that unauthorized spending. This is where money is just going willy-nilly. There's very little follow the money trail here, right?
So, I mean, what many South Africans don't really actually understand, Graeme, is that unauthorized expenditure, irregular expenditure, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure are actually an indication of how the municipality manage their finances. I mean, if you look at fruitless and wasteful expenditure, 129 million, it simply means that they blew 129 million on something, but there was absolutely no value, zero value for the people of Mangaung. So 129 million just simply vanished out of the blue, but that's what it means. Unauthorized expenditure, it means that they did spend the money. Maybe there was value, but they did not budget for it, and that's not how government works. You cannot simply just spend money on things that you have not budgeted for. There are cases where there are emergencies and you have to spend money that you did not budget for, but the law allows for that. And then if that actually happens, then council can go and seek condonation for that, and that is regularized.
And a declaration. They can make a declaration for it as per
they
municipal
can
law.
and say that, look, absolutely, they can say that, look, we had to spend this money, we had not budgeted for it, but it was absolutely necessary, and then that can be regularized, But I'm afraid 2.2 billion worth of irregular expenditure, unauthorized expenditure, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure, it's just a staggering amount of money. And the reality of the situation is that unauthorized expenditure, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, and irregular expenditure speak to corruption. It speaks to people who are not able to handle finances. It speaks to people who are just, who are down and out, who are not able to do a basic financial management.
Sure. And again, as per what Parliament's Public Accounts Committee sort of pointed to, is a lack of skilled staff in this particular metro. B, we've got it from opposition parties and clearly from the AG's findings itself, is a culture of overtime spend that, you can just fill out these forms even if you're in prison and get extra money at the end of the day. And just a lack of just general interest in wanting to keep the metro tidy. For me, those are the three main sort of takeaways here. Anything else you want to add?
2.2 billion is a hell of a lot of money, Graeme. I mean, if you had to head not even to 1 billion or 500 million, it's money that can actually spend you a lifetime. It's a staggering amount of money. So you cannot have a council not account for how they were able to spend or how they spent 2.2 billion. I mean, 2.2 billion, you can build roads, you can build clinics, you can build water pipelines, you can build wastewater treatment plants, you can literally change people's lives. And so municipalities have to account for how they spend these amounts of money. And if the Mangaung Metro is not able to account for how they spend 2.2 billion, I'm sorry, people should be arrested, people should be fired, and people should go to jail.
That's Sipho Masondo, one of our investigative journalists at News 24. It's the city of roses, but I fear that these roses have wilted a long time ago. Overtime payments to a prisoner, how Mangaung's 470 million rand overtime abuse was exposed, is one of the top stories on News 24. Sipho, I hope to hear more about it in future. I fear the Mangaung Metro just doesn't get enough media attention. And I'm sure there's lots and lots to uncover in the months and years to come, especially as we move to elections. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Graeme.